only and within inside that peer network, then you're going to get on any other platform, right? And so I started kind of dabbling with like how to build something like this back in 2010, 2011, 2012-ish, somewhere in there. Had an initial pilot of it in 2013. I think it was 2013, under Walt Rogers' year, if I remember correctly. Had a launch party for it here in Dallas. At that point in time, it was like this peer network, like anybody could invite anybody, kind of like how the Facebook group is today. We've kind of learned from that as well too, right? It's like a lot of guys don't understand how to use it, and so they'll in Facebook they'll invite people who in the peer network having that permission, they'll accidentally invite people,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes a bit problematic. But anyways, it launched in 2013. At that point in time, Grand Lodge got kind of up in arms, right? It's something new. We don't know what it is. I get it. New things can be scary.
Yeah.
Um, I had a launch party. I had rented out this restaurant, like this private area in this restaurant. I had a video made for it. And, lo and behold, there were some, you know, fairly high prominent Dallas Grand Lodge members and past officers in attendance, as well as my DDGM, who at the time I didn't know from Adam, right? And so that was a bit of an intimidating experience. But the walk away from that was the DDGM, who I'll go ahead and drop his name, Jeff Haven. Turned out to be a dear friend of mine. Actually served as vice president under me when I was president of the 14th MWSA. He walked away saying, like, this is exactly what we need for the fraternity, right? It solves so many of the organizational issues that we have.
Yeah.
So what is it that it solves? Well, the answer to that is, if you've ever been in like a large business or an enterprise, you have access to email. You have access to generally some sort of internal chat. You have access to some sort of knowledge management system where you can keep and store documents for reference.
Mm-hmm.
You basically got a platform that has digitized itself, right? You've got digital calendars. You can check other people's calendars. You can see how people are associated, who they report up to, things like that. No, I'm not saying that the accepted is all of that and more today, but it's the basis of all of that. And what that thing is in corporate speak, we would call that an intranet. You have an internal way to network and collaborate. And it's a peer-to-peer system to where individuals can communicate with individuals. It is not top-down communication. It's a way to truly network the members of this jurisdiction,
Mm-hmm.
being at this time Texas. It is a way for you to create calendars with inside certain tiers of the organization, whether that be your lodge or your district or the state level organization. It's a place for you to, just post updates and thoughts. It's a place to post documents for long-term storing. One thing that I'll say, Hillcrest is a very business-forward lodge. We've got a lot of bright, intelligent men with various aspects of life, and quite a few have a lot of very good business background. And we have to train all of them and reshare documents every year, right? It's like, okay, well, now you're an officer and now you officially get a copy of the bylaws or whatever, if we happen to remember to give them to you or whatnot. With the accepted, you're in the Hillcrest group, and the Hillcrest group under documents has our bylaws.
Mm.
Right? So you can always go look at those. Like, every member should always have access to their lodge's bylaws. Every member, in my opinion, should know those bylaws. It shouldn't be something that's like a rite of passage once you're in a certain point of the line because somebody happened to remember that, oh yeah, by the way, you probably need to look at these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you should probably be understanding the organizational structure and how to build your leadership model in the lodge around these type of things. So that's one use case. Other use cases, like, hey, we're going to do, something internal to the lodge. Okay, maybe we're going to create an event and put it on the lodge group. Maybe we're going to do something where we want other guys to attend. That it might not be statewide. We don't think they're going to drive all over the state for it. But maybe we're doing something we think local guys might enjoy, whether that be, a master's degree or a fundraising fish fry or whatever it is. Create that event and share it to the district level, because then anybody in those groups can then see those events and start planning their calendar accordingly, or know like, hey, I'm going to plan something for this date. Does anybody else have anything on that date? Right? Because I want my event to be as successful as I can, and I want to make sure other guys in the area aren't going to be pulled away from that as focus. So those are a couple of use cases. Having a general Masonic directory, that's something that's been done for a very long time, right? I mean, you've got MWSAs that create directories. Various individuals across the state create directories. This is basically, to some extent, like my personal directory that I've allowed to open up to everybody else and have a kind of stake in the ground with.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something that like should be noted here, is like the trajectory of not only where we're at now with the accepted, but in the very near term, where Freemasonry needs to be prepared to go, right? Because 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, what one man could do after work with his typewriter, turned into a very quick work for a man in the 90s with a PC, right? All of a sudden, all this manual data input and everything turned into like, hey, I can crank out a directory in a matter of hours. Now we've got one person who can create something like that for the entire state. And in the coming years, what we need to really start thinking about is like where one man in the 60s was able, like in the 90s, you were able to produce like 100 times what a man in the 60s could do, to a man now, to a man in the 90s, like realistically producing 10,000 times what a man in the 90s could do. In 5 or 10 years, with AI and the tools that are coming out with that, you're literally going to have somebody being able to do millions of times the amount what somebody in the 60s could have done.
Oh, yeah.
So like the tool sets that are available and what we can do as a jurisdiction and how we can unlock ourselves and better network and better organize and better grow is a phenomenal trajectory. There's a lot for us to figure out as a jurisdiction, admittedly. And I'm not shy off of those conversations, happy to talk about them, but the ability for individuals to contribute is going to continue to be exponentially more than what it was yesterday.
So I was looking through the accepted, and like you said, you could put documents up for your lodge, but you could also put documents and share them with your district, it looks like, too. So like if you're an MWSA or something, if you want to put your bylaws somewhere where everyone can see them, am I accurate in that you could share that with your district?
Yep, 100%. And it's the groups are meant for, again, peer-to-peer network-based organization. So if you're a member of that group, meaning your membership is correlated with that grouping, whether it be a lodge, a district, or a jurisdiction, like that's your group to post in. Like if like the other members could mark your stuff as spam if you're just like flagging the group for things that don't seem relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a top-down communication method. If you're in the group and you think it's legitimate for the group to be considering and discussing, or storing and reviewing, or planning and creating, like that's what those groups are for. We've got official communication methods for official top-down, communications.
This is more bottom up. It's more.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a.
If you've read,
database.
Yeah, if you've read, I think it's Niall Ferguson's Square and the Tower. That's like, first of all, I think it's like essential reading. I've probably mentioned it on this podcast before, but it talks about the like historical relation between networking societies and hierarchical societies and how America has changed throughout the past 300 years. And it's interesting because it's not a Masonic book. It's not focused on Freemasonry, but the square that they're referencing in the title is the Masonic Square.
The square and the tower.
Yeah, and the premise of that is, during the colonial and revolutionary period, um, we, American society, could not be centralized, right? We were a periphery of the empire, and ultimately, in trying to establish our own freedom, could not centrally organize. It had to be network based. Then, with the founding of the republic and the defeat of the British, um, or vice versa, in inverse of that order, uh, then you can get to a point where there starts to become centralization and people building hierarchy. And that goes for a period of time. And it ebbs and flows throughout different like social events, generally around like political structure or military expansion. World War II, we're at a height of like hierarchical society. Everybody falls in line. There's like, clear, like, here's what's, here's our culture, here's not, and here's our hierarchy of it. And then you enter into the Vietnam era where we're fighting, the Vietnamese who are very disenfranchised in terms of organizational structure. And we have to relearn how to organize our military. And that also potentially, impacts our society with people then becoming less structured and becoming more of a networking organization. That's only exacerbated with technology. With technology and the democratization of media, you basically had a society that's become like the standard norm to be able to peer-to-peer network on almost everything, right? So, like the society is in part of the conversation for information and what's right and what's wrong, and ultimately what is true, which that's another conversation for another day. But
yes, it definitely is.
yeah. But
can I ask a question real quick?
You'll get lost.
No,
you'll get lost.
I will get lost. I have a question though, and because I'm driving, I'm not able to write it down, and I want to ask it and not forget it. So you mentioned on there that the people within your group can mark what you're doing as spam, so that it becomes noticeable to yourself, and I'm assuming to the admin team. Is that correct?
Correct. I will say I think that feature is limited right now, and I think I actually keep in mind this has been over a 10-year. This is like 12 years of development. I think the some of the technology powering that functionality needs to be refreshed. But that if it's not fully fleshed out right now, it will be reestablished.
Well, that's fine. I think that there's and maybe since you're talking in the lines of refreshing, because like you have stated exactly, with technology we have to stay abreast of the next gen thinking, or we're gonna fall way behind. In fact, it's proven in Freemasonry that there's so many things that we were pioneers of that we just let ourselves become the end of the pack. So on this item, if you want to jot this down, if you even care what I have to say, I think that's an awesome feature that the group can somewhat manage their own members by saying, hey man, this is spam, we don't want this in our group. So let's say you have a lodge or you have a district or whatever, and me and my flasks, if I throw those out there, try to sell them to the district, maybe they might get pissed off. But if I'm selling it to the lodge, then they might not be so upset. So there's controls in there by the group themselves to determine what they want in their experience. And it doesn't have to be across the board rules for everybody. The group can manage their own experience, and I think that would be wonderful, because some groups they're going to want it actually just enhances and builds upon the culture of our groups, right? We all have our inner circles, so it just kind of helps build on that culture. I think that that's an awesome thing. But you may want to have one administrator in the group itself to manage that one group, and then of course you guys have ultimate authority over all of it. But I think that's an awesome concept that that we somewhat have with moderators. But if it's the entire group that's deciding as a collective, I think that I think that's better for the personal experience that you're providing with the accepted, which I love. I absolutely love it. I love that. So
No.
I just wanted to throw that in there because I didn't have. I'm driving and I can't write it down and tell you later. But
Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback. Yeah, and that's definitely the goal is more peer-to-peer management because as we've seen, this is a nonprofit organization at all levels. Nobody's getting paid. Well, very few people are getting paid for their contributions. And a lot of if you're going to do this kind of stuff, it's got to be done in a way that doesn't require too much centralized administration because centralized administration has more important things to focus on, right? I mean,
yes,
they've got to, help make sure the nonprofits are pumping and, more serious issues at hand. I'm not going to define those here and now, but more serious issues at hand are focused on and taken care of. Like nanny sitting social media or private intranet is not probably on the list of high priority topics for them to focus on. So that being said, I mean, I'd be happy to anybody within like an administrative role of any of these organizations. I'm happy to talk to you about putting on and have with many people in moderation roles for these groups. But yeah, we'll see how it grows. But thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, that's good. I would like it because we've had several people, and some of them even commented when I announced that we're going to have this on Facebook. Could you kind of walk somebody through, say they never got on the accepted? What's the process for that look like?
Yeah. So there's no sign up form, and that's by design because we didn't want fake accounts to be able to be created. And so instead, this is a very, again, by design, convoluted process to any normal flow that you're used to. But you would go to the login page, which I think by now is posted in 15,000 different times in the Freemasons group. From there, you would hit the password reset link. On the password reset link, you will enter your email that is registered with Grandview under Texas. That will validate your email and will send you an email. If the email you get will then be a link to reset your password. If for some reason you want a different email associated with that, message me on Facebook. Like you'll need to provide me your membership number, what your email is with Grand Lodge, Grandview, and what you want it to be, and I'll be glad to change that for you. If you want to delete your information, let me know, and I'll delete it. Like I'm not here to try to make sure your stuff's where you don't want it to be. But yeah, just know that this is how in the future I'm going to go around and make sure I'm talking to people digitally that I should be talking to. One thing I'd like to cover a couple other pieces of history, and then we can dive into some use cases. But just so everybody's like familiar, for a number of years, I think around 2015, 2016, somewhere in there, 2014 maybe even, I was vice chairman of the Internet Committee. Then I was chairman of the Internet Committee. Then I was chairman of the Internet Committee. Parking lot conversation for another day. I resigned from the Internet Committee. No hard feelings. Happy for everybody who's come after me. Craig's doing a fantastic job. Cannot speak enough to that man. He's great to work with. Since then, I've been made membership committee chairman. I was made membership committee chairman yet again. And I think now I'm still on the committee, and I think right now I'm vice chairman. I don't really follow what title they want to give me too much anymore. But that being said, like technology and membership have been my primary focuses for Grand Lodge for the better part of a decade, all the while developing this in the background. So I think some concern out there is like, oh, we've got some random guy who like got all this information and hacked the system. A, most of this information is publicly available if you're tech savvy enough to know how to get it or validate it. And anybody who wants to ask me that in detail, feel free to, but I'm not going to talk about it here. And then yeah, like I'm just completely focused on how to grow the organization and how to help better integrate our members to engage each other, plan, and grow their activities and their lodges.
Yeah.
That's my intent here. Nothing nefarious. Like I'm not making any money on this. I've honestly spent more than I ever think this could ever possibly generate. This is purely a personal application that I'm doing for my own pleasure and for the joy of anybody else who wants to jump on. So I'm not going to turn around and try to sell this to Grand Lodge or sell it to another jurisdiction. I just really think that Freemasonry for me is one of my life's callings, and I think this can provide value to the members who want to join. So that's one thing, and kind of a history of how I've gotten here. And two, running the Texas Freemasons group for the past 15 years. You may be surprised, maybe not, to know that in Texas we have a sizable population who doesn't always comply with Facebook's community standards. And Facebook has a fairly robust administration platform for evaluating how the group's performing. Now, I will say, like, I don't think we're in any immediate threat, but that's based on where Facebook is at today. The pandemic kept going for a couple of years, and had things in our society formed more and more of a gap of opinion on right and wrong and what government should be doing versus what people should have free will to decide for themselves, and information that's out through some health sources being in compliance with other health sources. We would have gotten our group of 15,000 people shut down by now.
Facebook shut down the old Masonic Improvement page. We had nowhere near what you had on Texas Freemasons, but we had a couple thousand people, and just what was it? Repeated community violations, but we had no community violations. They just shut us down, and there's no community service. There's no reaching out to anybody, and so we ended up just making a new Facebook page. And then like a month later, my personal Facebook page was just down. Luckily, I was able to get that one back up. But you're absolutely right. Like, if Big Brother wants to come get you, they'll come get you, and they don't owe you an apology, explanation, nothing. So
well, it's not even just Big Brother though. And I was talking to the lodge about this tonight. The MWSA down here, we're going to create a website and then allow them to. Then I'm going to teach all of the lodges in the area how to create an easy little website. And the biggest reason I told them, the biggest reason to do this is because Facebook is rented space. It is rented space. You have no control over the rules, regulations, anything. The mods don't have any control. The person who started the page has no control. Facebook has all the control. Mm-hmm. So the worst thing you can do is put all your eggs in one basket to a company who does not share the same values as you do. And so I think the Accepted is magnificent because it's the rent to own version, right? It's a lot like Facebook because you definitely need to conform with certain rules and regulations to some degree, but it's not like they're just going to shut everybody down in your group because you say something that somebody doesn't like or whatever. So I think that it's well past due, and I am grateful for all y'all putting in the hard work. And I'm going to say, Kyle, it doesn't hurt my feelings if I need to pay $1 a year or $2 a year or $3 a year for the Accepted, because you know, we we tend to devalue ourselves, and we devalue those other brother Masons that are putting forth the effort to bring us into this century and to push us along in technology. And you deserve not to be devalued. And at the very minimum, I would say recover enough that you can pay for your Freemasonry, because you're doing so much for Freemasonry. So keep that in mind. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So if you want to send me a bill for
For
$5,
everybody.
that's fine. Don't give me the bill for everybody, but
Yeah, I'm
I'll
doing
do mine.
yeah, I'm doing fine, thank you. If I ever get into something where I'm like, well, I got to pay the light bill or shut down this thing this month, I'll probably just put out something like Wikipedia and say like,
Right.
hey, donations are accepted. But I think we'll be okay for the foreseeable
Well,
future.
I'm certain that you are, and I know that. We know you personally, but it's a matter of devaluing our brothers, and we always need to remember that our brothers are putting a lot into this, and if not to do it for dollars, do it for drinks. I know you'll accept that. So I'll get your first round when we meet for dinner tomorrow night or Thursday night.
Sounds good.
Um, I see that Gene has his hand up. There was a comment in YouTube that I want to address real quick. I think
Sure.
I think it's a good question. Is there going to be a way in the future that we can create our own groups?
Are you sure this isn't from you and Dennis?
No, it was actually in the chat. They did ask about Masonic improvement, but because I had
No,
looked at
I expect you to build one for us now.
I had
Yeah.
looked at it
Yesterday.
before to see if I could do that, but since they brought it up, it made me think about it. So I was just
Yeah,
wondering.
there's nothing on the immediate roadmap for individual groups. I mean, quite frankly and honestly, at some point there probably will. But right now, guys are having a hard enough time trying to find what content we do have there because the population is obviously much smaller than the 15,000 group on Facebook that's actively like addicted to that group and
Mm,
surfing it all day, every day.
addicted to
Um,
that tea.
yeah, but I think once guys become more familiar, and the groups, people kind of get a cadence of how we're using the groups and where to post certain things. Yeah, I could see. I think in the near future, well, let me not say near. I think in the more immediate timeline, what I would like to see is expanding into the appendant body organizations, and even other jurisdictions. I would love to get um, Prince Hall of Texas on, and or any other jurisdiction in the U.S. on. Uh, Willing to have conversations on other jurisdictions outside of the U.S. But right now, I think networking amongst men who are most likely to be able to sit in the same lodge together is what's most important to me. And so, yeah, if any other jurisdictions wanted to hop on and populate their jurisdictions on this, I'd be happy to explore those conversations and see how we can make that a reality.
Nice.
Because in the future, we could definitely get to a point where not only do you have like your lodge, your district, and your jurisdiction, but there's also the universal group of the accepted that everybody's joined to. And so, I mean, that group could literally be like the United States Freemasonry group, right? Like everybody's validated, everybody can talk about, the challenges and like successes that they're having in their jurisdictions. Because right now, all that boils up into like, the Grand Masters of North America Summit or whatever that thing's called. And it's like you've got this
Yep.
small think tank. And I've heard some of the stuff that goes in and comes out of that, and it's like antiquated and wrong. Like some of the data that's going into that is just it's not right. So
Antiquated in Freemasonry? I'm not sure about that.
yeah, and
I've
it's
never heard
supposed
of
to be antiquity, gentlemen. It's supposed to be antiquity, not antiquated.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot as a nation. Our jurisdictions can learn from each other, and which lodges are growing because not every jurisdiction highlights the lodges that are growing. That's kind of a year by year basis. But I know I hear a lot of opinions on what we should do that have very little to do with the historical accuracy of the work and have very little to do with or complete contradictory positions to how to operate a successful lodge.
Mhm.
And that's not dependent on if you're in a city or if you're in like a rural area. Some of it is, but most of it, 80% of it, is just how you do business today. And it's true for everybody in small towns. It's true in everybody in big cities. Like there are just modern practices that will make you more successful and help you grow your business
Yeah.
or your lodge. So,
brothers, we did not pay him to promote our platform. This
Gee.
is his own opinions at this point, and they
Oh, yeah.
just happen to align. They just happen to align completely with what Masonic Improvement has been trying to do for you guys, for you brothers, and even those outside of the fraternity for years. So, just
Yep.
thank you, Kyle.
Gene, you had your hand up a minute ago. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, it's more like a comment. So picking back in what Brother Kyle was talking about, the different generations and the changes and everything. Like I have something right down. It's in Spanish. I'm gonna translate. It's like a thought that I was thinking about, because I heard everybody talking about how we should adapt to changes, right? But I believe Freemasonry should not adapt to change. Freemasonry should be pioneer to make those changes happen. So we should be, as a Freemason, we should be ahead of everybody, just like in the army and Secret Service and everything that have, one step in technology or whatever,
Well,
we should have.
historically we
Yeah,
were.
right. So we should be the ones that make those changes and showing everybody how to go forward, looking forward to the future.
Well,
So it
thanks,
was just
thanks for
that.
the comment. Yeah, thanks for the comment. I will say, you have the conspiracy theorists all saying right now on YouTube that you're just not in the high enough circle, and that we do that today. But no, I agree with you. It'd be great if Freemasonry was more in kind of the driver's seat and in the power play, like how it was, at the founding of this country. I think I say this through a lot of the podcasts that I'm on, but I'll say it again for anybody who happens to have stumbled across this and think that we're a conspiratorial organization. You're right. It's true. Like 200 years ago, you're living in the nation that we built. But those
This
values
is the new world order.
yeah, the values you're concerned about are all basically every average American's like working values today. So there's that. But that's a tangent, a tirade. I do agree with you that we should be leading change rather than just kind of like muddling by. I will also say, like, when I say change, I'm generally referring to reformation. I think that we've inherited change through the 20th century that may have been the right or wrong thing to do at the time, but it's definitely the wrong thing to do now, right? And I'm not talking about like
Yes.
the ritual and the work and like esoteric symbol, like that stuff's time immemorial. Like that stuff's not going to change. There are minor changes that happen to it, and I think we can get into philosophical conversations. Let me back that up. I know I can get into philosophical conversations on how I disagree with those, but regardless of all that, like 90%, 95% of it's going to be the same, and nobody's talking about changing that. What we're talking about changing is the operating models and the approaches and kind of how we think about ourselves as a brand that are really derogatory and in some ways contradictory to the organizational values that we have in the work. And those things need to be reformed largely, reformed to a time prior to those changes, prior to those innovations. And so I think a lot when we hear younger guys talk about change, just for anybody who picks this up later, we're generally talking about reformation to like the glory days or the golden age of what Freemasonry was. Most of the changes that we're talking about today are just operational, if it is forward thinking. And those shouldn't have anything to do with anybody's personal feelings. That should be data driven. We've got way too much in our law book that's codified. That's really policies and procedures meant for how to run a business 6 decades ago.
The issue is
Yep.
the issue is, and I agree with everything you're saying, but I've learned something, is that because usually when you talk about organizational changes, It's just my experience. I'm sure there's all kinds of organizational changes that need to happen in a lot of lodges, but most lodges that I've encountered are so financially irresponsible. That's the first thing that always comes to mind for me. And unfortunately, when you have people that their own house isn't in order, their own finances aren't in order, and then they want to come to the lodge and make decisions for the lodge financially, and they're also very emotional about. It doesn't matter what the data says because they're emotional about it, and so. But I wholeheartedly agree. Like we have to get out of this mindset, and it might be a Westgate thing, like the finances. I hate to be that guy, but the finance issue might be a Westgate thing.
I want to take a slightly different approach to that, Justin. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No, it's
like
fine.
I kind of agree with you, and then I kind of like heavily differ. I think a lot of it's just like the culture and branding shift of what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it. We're affiliated with very large nonprofits. We run multiple children's hospitals, or at least we're integrated with the like ownership and running of those children's hospitals. We've got different funds for eye care and fixing pellet cleft lips and all this kind of stuff. And those are all great, like 501c3 organizations that are true nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that we're told, a lot of us are told and have been told and are kind of like stuck into thinking like the lodge is a nonprofit. And that's true and false. It's true in the sense that the lodge is a nonprofit. It's a 501c10.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fraternal organization. It's not like a tax exempt organization that you can pass money through and like do something with. But these guys, a lot of guys have been trained to a wrong prerogative where they're thinking, oh, we got to get in and take the lodge money and like donate it. Like we raise a little bit of money with it. However we do that through fish fries or through like investment capital, and then we donate funds. And that's missing the point of the lodge.
Yeah.
Like the lodge is the charity. Point, stop. Let me say that again. The lodge is the charity. Like you join a Masonic lodge, you're supposed to be giving your money to the lodge so the lodge can continue on. It is the charitable organization you're giving to at that level.
That's a good
And this
point.
whole thing of like, let's get back out in the community and let's give our money away to do it, completely missing the point. I mean, I showed at y'all's summit last summer, like public awareness is not our problem. Like we have data from across the nation down to the zip code that society is very, very well aware of Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but they ask how to join and what we do, and they want to know about us. Like people query Google on this millions of times a month. So like the idea that like, oh, people don't know who we are, they don't know what we do. Like there's history channels, National Geographic stuff that's been out for like 20 years. It's one of the things that got my interest peaked and I joined, right? It's like there's a complete disconnect in like this, we got to get back out in the community and we need to donate all our money away for charity. It's like, no. Your leadership has missed the boat for 2 decades at least. Society knows who we are. We're not good at like nurturing that funnel to convert into members. And on the flip side of that, we're giving all our money away rather than building prominence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we need to be building prominence by building bigger, better lodges.
You can
and that's
give
more activities, more things for guys to do, build better like societies of fraternal networks, like provide more growing opportunities for these men. That's the charity.
I love that.
Like give your money to the lodge to do those things. Don't argue that you're paying too much on dues and then donating $1,000 to a scholarship. That's not your money. Like that was your brother's money a few decades ago. That's not your money.
There's a lot of lodges that have that mentality that it's a nonprofit and they have nothing in their bank account because they're just giving it away.
Yeah.
And all the while, and I know of, I mean, I left the lodge recently that was doing that, but they're donating themselves into oblivion because they can't keep up with the maintenance of the building. Hell, the one I'm talking about can't even pay insurance, but they're giving money away every year. And there's a lot of lodges that do that. They're afraid because they have the mentality they're a nonprofit, so they can't have any money. Like they think they have to be destitute, and that's not the case.
Yeah,
I love your distinction.
what I don't like is the fact that we have so many lodges that have money that was built on the backs of our ancestors 75 to 100 years ago, and they create this budget based off of the interest on that fund, and then they blow the whole budget, and they don't even have a building or anything like that. It's just, to me, that's just a spit in the face of what we were supposed to be doing, and those brothers knew it, and we forgot it, and so we're blowing every dime that they ever put into the fraternity, and we think that we're being good stewards in the process because we're getting our name out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, again, you're spending money where you don't need to spend money. Like, people know, like, about Freemasonry, but you don't have a website to tell them where you're at. You don't have a Google listing. You don't answer your phone when they call. You wait 3 months to return an email. And I mean, I'm not casting stone at any one lodge. This is a problem of like hundreds of lodges in Texas. And I know because I've been chairman of the membership
Even
committee,
further.
emailed them.
Yeah.
Like, when I was DDGM, I emailed all my lodges to see when I could visit rather than write them a letter, because I wanted to see if they were returning the emails of those interested to join. And you'd be surprised, not all of them returned a DDGM email in 2 months. So,
Sorry that I interrupt you. That was exactly my point when I was talking about you cannot just depend on social media like Facebook and just having a open page that you don't post nothing since last year, and the number that you calling nobody answered, the email numbers. You know what I mean? We should, as an institution, as a Freemasonry through history, leading the way. We should be ahead of everybody. That's what I believe concerning technology. We should be. I know technology sometimes, for some people, they don't like it or they resist to be on social media or make change using technology, but the world is changing. It's changing really quick. You have one phone today, and 6 months you have a new phone that do 3 times better than your last phone. So we should, keep going and move forward, looking forward.
Yep.
Using technology.
100%.
And
more guys are getting it. But
I would like to.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Y'all were talking about the lodge is the charity. It's a neighboring district, neighboring town, just one county over from us here in Central Texas. Their lodge barely has enough money to pay the electric bill every month. They have 4 or 5 guys show up, barely enough to open lodge. But they have about $40,000 in a scholarship and charity account because all they've done is fundraisers for scholarships. And they don't know what they're going to do. They elected the same slate of officers again because nobody shows up. I mean, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Literally, they have right at $40,000, maybe $50,000 in their charities account because they held all these fundraisers and had really successful fundraisers and made lots of money in the last 10 or 15 years. But they can't pay the light bill with it because they raised it for charity, not for the lodge.
Exactly. Yes, they're not investing in themselves. And
correct.
But in reality, they wouldn't have even needed to do those fundraisers if they had been investing in themselves from the beginning.
Exactly.
But yeah, your point is well taken, and I see that within all the little lodges around where I am, that they're doing all these fundraisers to raise all this money, and it looks like they're doing well, but in reality, those are off of the backs of all the citizens of the towns that they live in, not off the backs of the Freemasons. And that's what we have to change. We have to change that culture and invest in ourselves instead of trying to raise money for a nonprofit when we're not really a nonprofit.
Well, I think if we look at that business approach like Kyle was talking about. I think if you really analyze and really just get down to the real reason most of these lodges do the scholarships and all these charity, it is really because they're trying to get seen in the community, right? It's to get that notoriety. Really, what it boils down to is you're trying to get new members by being seen, and it's a very expensive way to try to get your notoriety, to try to get new members, and it has very little follow through. Like, you don't get a lot of members out of it. Very
No
little
return on investment.
But lodges do it just over and over and over with no return on investment. And I do know of a lodge that they're constantly doing fundraising, they're constantly giving money away, and they're bringing in a lot of new members. But this is the other problem, the other end of the spectrum. Now you're selling yourself, you branded yourself as something that's not Freemasonry. And I want to talk more about branding here in a minute, but you branded yourself as something that's not Freemasonry. You branded yourself as a service organization or a charity. Not a charitable organization, a charity. Like, you raise money and turn around and give it away. And I mean, they're being very successful, and they bring it up every year how successful they are at Grand Lodge, but you're not practicing Freemasonry at that point, because the ritual and the memory work and everything else becomes just kind of an inconvenience you have to go through in order to start doing your fundraising.
Yep. I do kind of feel like we've gotten off on a tangent, which was probably caused by
Yes, we have.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we have. And yes, it was. I will never take blame for your actions.
Yeah, but if we can, Justin, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna share my screen and we can walk through some of the application a little bit and give guys kind of an overview of where certain stuff lives. Give me just a second. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Here, I didn't know I did that. Let me fix that.
Yep, it was all planned.
I didn't want Jason to start sharing spreadsheets with us.
No, I'd be in for that spreadsheet.
All right, try now. See if it'll let you.
There we go. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna do my desktop and hope this works out okay. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Well, now I've also got this thing over here. We'll see if I can minimize that. I'll put you guys down there. So hopefully it's not blocking too much. But like I said, the sign up flow, you're going through basically a password reset flow. You're entering the email address you've got registered with Grand Lodge for validation. If you want to change any of that, message me on Facebook. We'll get it worked out. Anytime you want to remove any of this stuff, message me. We'll get it worked out. But this is generally where you land. This is like your news feed. Spoiler alert, a lot of this is going to look and feel like Facebook by design, because obviously most guys know how to use Facebook at this point in time. In this first widget here on the left, you can see who's currently online. This is generally fairly sparse. We've got a good amount of people here right now, but as the application grows, this will become more regular. In the future, I also predict there will probably be like live chat or direct messaging. I've had it on here before. I've taken it down just because costing around the amount of people we've got on right now doesn't make sense. But in the future, it'll probably pop back up. You can filter over and see like who you're connected with. I'm probably connected with all you guys, so that's not going to change much here. You've got a quick widget for your connections, who's been recently active, if you want to see any of that. So you can kind of stalk on people. See who you might want to message, people who are following, or people I'm following rather, my followers, and then you've also got a widget for like upcoming meetings. So kind of overall dashboard, news feed. I don't think any of this is revolutionary. If you're on Facebook, 15 years ago, this is largely what it looked like. You can post a update. Public, by the way, doesn't actually mean public. It just means there's no security limitations for any member on the site. There's nothing on this site that is public. Nothing can be accessed unless you're logged in, other than the login page. But let's see, streaming live from the Masonic Improvement podcast. I can post. Of course, best plans. I don't know what's going on there. Never had that happen before. Let me try with inside a group. Oh, there we go. I was logged out. So if you stay dormant too long, it should auto log you out. So you're not going to leave an account open somewhere. But I'll go back to the home screen.
There we go.
Now I post with my browser being logged in, and it updates there, just like Facebook. You know, you can like. Currently, the reactions do not go into the commentary of a post. So if somebody comments on this right now, we can't like that. That's known. Like that will happen at some point in the future. It's in the backlog, but I've got some bigger things I'm trying to tackle first. But like right now, anybody could go on this post who's logged in and friends with me or connected with me and comment on this if you wanted to. This is just like a timeline post and operates just like my personal page. So anything on this main feed that you like input into in this top post section will be like it's coming from your profile to those who are connected with you. Okay. Now, going a little bit up from that, like you can see down here, Jason, who I think is on the podcast. Jason, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
He posted an event, the A degree. Let's see. We'll just go to view this event. I'm pretty sure this is probably in. Did you assign this to? Oh no, it's because we're connected. So that's why I'm seeing it. So I'm a connection with Jason. So I'm seeing his posts on my feed, right? Yep. Now the full event like has cached through. But yeah, so I'm friends with Jason. I'm connected with Jason, so I can see his stuff directly on my feed. Now, additionally, there's the idea of groups, and when you log into this accepted initially, you're kind of married into all the groups that you have access to naturally through your lodges. So your lodges are married into district groups, your district's married into jurisdiction, and everybody's married into the accepted group, which is basically the global group of the application. With inside these, this is where a lot of like controlled permissions of accessibility can come in, right? So like, let's say I wanted to create a committee meeting for Hillcrest. I could come into the Hillcrest group here and create an event with inside this navigation structure here. So here, I can come to events. I can create an event. I can create it assign it to Hillcrest with this group selection, and it's going to be a Hillcrest group event. And so anybody that's married to the Hillcrest group would then see that. Let's say I wanted to create something for MWSA, or let me create some, social event where I want other lodges around to join. I would maybe do District 14 sub B, or I'd go to District 14 depending on how widely I want to promote it, create that event, and then anybody in those groups would also see it on their core feed, that first page that we showed up. If I created it for the Grand Lodge of Texas group, that would show it to all members registered who log in to see it on their feed. And this is similar for all of these components that you have access to. This sub-navigation's not only similar for groups, but also for profiles. So if I go over to my profile page, by the way, this side navigation in desktop mode is largely like personalized views of things, where the main navigation up top is largely global navigation. What I mean by that is if you go to groups here, it's going to pull back like all groups for you to search through. If you pull back groups over here, it's going to pull back your profile with your limited view of groups. You can get to both ways, but one's faster depending on what you're looking for, right? If you're trying to do your stuff, the left-hand nav is probably fastest. If you're trying to like browse around and see what else is out there, the top might be faster for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say under groups, like mine didn't look like yours because I had all the groups, like all 937 of them until you're talking about it, looked over there. So my point is, be sure you clicked on my groups and not all groups because it gets pretty overwhelming pretty fast otherwise.
Yeah, if you go to groups, like I've got mine defaulted to my groups because I've clicked this recently and it caches it for some amount of time. But by default, it will hit all groups. And I'll be honest with you, this is not a fun navigation experience right now. At some point, this will get like a UI overhaul. But right now, you just click the My Group section if you're in here and get down to yours that are relevant. I guarantee you 99% of anything you want to do is within inside these. So there's that.
Got you. There's something going on with the share screen. I don't know what it is because it will. I don't know if it's something that you're clicking or what, but it'll show. I get to show like what you're sharing, but then it'll go to everybody's picture instead. So I don't know what's going on with the share screen. So I apologize to everybody watching if it keeps kind of going away. I'm trying to figure that out, but I don't know why it keeps going away from your shared screen.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything like that on my end, but I apologize if it's my connection or anything.
No, I don't.
No,
it's OBS.
not y'all.
It's the program. It's weird like that.
It's you're the only one seeing it, Justin.
I'm the only one seeing.
Show.
Yeah, while Dennis was driving, he validated everybody else's screens were fine.
That's why he gets lost.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna keep chugging along because I don't want to keep guys up too late. But this is your landing page for your profile. It's got your basic information. I've also got a thing on here. This was big for me, like spouse's name. I want to be able to like see what other guys' wives' names are because sometimes I'm at an event and I'm like, oh, what's her name? Like I should know her name. So there's that. There's my wife's name. You've got a section here for Masonic resume. You can enter in a bunch of stuff here, and you can update this yourself. This is something you do. This is not something we're importing in, at least at this time. Would love to like automate that in the future. I could see in a future state at some point where we're actually automating in like roles and permissions based on your role within inside a lodge potentially, or being able to allocate responsibilities in certain groups to other people if you want to designate something as worshipful master or something. That's pipe dream as of now, but something I would definitely like to explore in the future. But you can come in and kind of explore everything with inside Blue Lodge career path, so to speak. Kind of keep those records for yourself. This will probably be something that continues to build out. I know certain people with inside Grand Lodge saw this and were like, well, what about this grand title? And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess we can include that in too for your own enjoyment. But that's that if you want to update any of that. This is another area you can get to your timeline. So this is like the main page, but just another view of it. You can get to the connections that you have on. So people who have friend requested you or you friend requested and see everybody here, find them, direct message them, things like that. This is a log of all your events that you've got. Again, all your groups. I'm not going to wait for that to load because we've seen it. Photos. This will probably get more interesting in the future. There have been better implementations of this in the past, but in rebuilding this, I don't have a whole lot of media components built out yet, but I could see this becoming much more Facebook-esque in terms of like media catalog management and albums and things like that. Forums. This isn't something that we've talked about yet, but there's a forum capability within inside the main navigation. These are capabilities that are married with inside groups. So the way that I would think about this is like the difference between like conversations and discussions, right? So conversations are like kind of for the moment. They're probably good like to hash things out, but aren't necessarily like long-term valuable. Conversations are things that are going to be like in a post. Okay, it's like a Facebook like timeline post. That's what I'm talking about with conversations. Forums are more like discussions. We probably want to have a record of this. We probably want to know how we decided this. We probably want to see everybody's like perspective of this, and we want it to be like referenceable, like repeatedly. So each group has its own forums. You can create your own topics within those forums, and from there, people can always go back and easily reference those forums. Where scrolling through a timeline obviously becomes problematic. So I would use forums kind of in that regard, and a little, just be careful you're kind of categorizing the topic correctly between like a post that could be gone tomorrow and you're not too worried about it versus a forum that you'd want to keep and reference every year with new officers or whatever else.
Okay.
Events. We've got an event calendar here. This is like the overview. I do want to call out a couple things. Like there's actually quite a bit of features here. So if you create an event and share it to a group, if you're a member of the group, you'll also see it here. There's the list of events here. You can also go to like a daily view of what events are for that day, a weekly view, monthly view. This one's pretty cool because you can just see like what's coming up and click on it and then see the details and jump to it. And then even yearly, if you really want to get a high level overview of like, oh, I think I'm planning something in like 6 months. Has anybody else like in any of my groups scheduled something big on this day that I want to work around? So,
I like that.
yeah, there's that. You can search for events here. The events page in itself in the main navigation is the most robust place to do things. If you create an event, though, you need to go to the events in your profile section to edit it. That's a catch. I need to create better UI for that in the future, user experience for that in the future, or user interface for that in the future. But as of now, if you create an event, you want to edit it, go to your profile and look for it there, and then edit it there.
Okay.
And then docs. Again, you can access kind of photos and videos under this tab as well too. But this has access to all my docs across groups right now. So I've got some art for different organizations that I've got in here. I've got bylaws for Hillcrest in here that I can constantly reference. It'll show you like if the document is tagged to a group, what group it's tagged to, when it was last modified, and who has access to view it. For different organizations that I've got in here. I'm getting some echo back from somebody. Here's constantly reference. It'll show you like I'm gonna blame Dennis. Group it's tagged to.
If someone's got their speaker on, they're picking up some stuff.
Yeah, that's not me, sir.
Okay, if everybody could go on mute, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, there we go. So if I share, if I had bylaws to my lodge, does that mean automatically all members? I know they could probably go to the group and see it, but they could go to the document tab and access it there from there as well.
Yeah, so this is in the documents tab here. There's 3 sub tabs. So you've got all documents, my documents, and my groups. The all documents is all the documents that you have access to in any of your groups.
Nice. That's
now, if you want to segment to a specific group, it would be best to go to that group and look for the documents in that group. So there's different ways to kind of skin the cat, so to speak, but accessible both ways. You can also go to my documents. Okay, interesting. I don't know why that is. I think most of these are actually not my documents, but some of them, because most of them were modified by others. This is not owned by me because it's in the group now, so that's why that's not coming back. So if you've got any documents that you're current owner on, that'll be there, and then group documents by that tab there. If you just want to see documents that are specifically owned by a group that you're in. I will say, full disclosure, the original goal of this was actually to view the document with inside this as well too. There's some infrastructure limitations with my hosting provider on being able to do that. Currently, I'm hoping to get that worked out. It's not a high priority issue for me right now. So right now, you basically have to download the document to view it. But at some point in the future, the goal is at least to be able to view the document. And longer term, I'd actually like to edit the documents online with edit permissions. But that's way future roadmap and a lot of things to work out around that. Who has permissions to edit and so forth.
That's awesome, man.
That's all right. We're Masons. We like to collect stuff.
Yeah. Further into the main navigation, general search, this pulls back like most fields across the site. So I think if you're looking for people, lodge groups, things like that, you can get to it there. That I know there's areas that needs to be further integrated into and expanded. So apologies if you're not finding exactly what you're looking for there, but that'll continue to enhance. This is your personal inbox, and this is your notifications. And then here you've got kind of everything around like your profile and your account, being able to change some settings. And again, you've got some additional navigation, just another way to navigate some of this stuff. I don't like to dictate how people do things a lot of the time. So I've got a lot of different options on whatever you're most comfortable with. There's honestly, it looks like there's more to do here than there is. If I'm going to be fully transparent, there's just a lot of ways to get to how you want to look at something. So kind of exploring the navigation and seeing what works best for you. All options are on the table.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes, Gene.
Sure.
Is there any application for this, or is it only through the web?
Yeah, this is only through the web.
Okay.
If you want an application-like experience, I will tell you, let's see, you can, I mean, if you collapse this down, it's going to go into an application mode. So if you pull this up on your phone right now, it will look like it's an application built on your phone, including like mobile menu and all of that. So there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I don't want to deal with app stores. I don't want to deal with the overhead and frankly costs of developing an app. Two, you can literally on your phone go to the accepted login and then save whatever page you want to your desktop, and it will look just like an app. I've got an app logo that will appear on your desktop. It's actually this square and compass here in a white box, and it will look like it's just an app on your phone. And third, if there's no app on your phone, I don't have access to your phone data, which is another like headache that I didn't want to have to deal with. Like I'm not trying to do anything with personal data. And so, yeah, no application. And I don't foresee a time where there'll be an application either. This is purely a web application. If you want it to look like a phone application, like a mobile application, just save it to your home screen and go that route.
That's good. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I had a question. So if
Sure.
someone wants to receive their first degree, and I guess
you go right over to this tab over here, and you click watch the first degree video. Mm-hmm. And no, I'm kidding.
No, I was just wondering how fast would they show up? Like at what point do they actually? Because I know when you come to sign up, you already have it's pulling like from databases or whatever. How quickly would you have a account on the accepted if you were to join the fraternity, say tomorrow?
Yeah, so this is a very painful process. To put like this site has been built out through a very manual and painful like process. It will not be quick. I at this point like am not doing regular refreshes. So I would say, bide your time with patience because it's the blunt matter of fact is there's probably not enough guys coming in on a regular basis across the entire state to justify like regular updating of data.
Yeah.
But I think there's other considerations and complications with that as well too right now, which we need to work out. I would love to find a way where we could work with the Grand Lodge and Grandview to automate a lot of this process and be able to get guys up like same day. Mm-hmm. Like dream state would be like, yeah, we're just integrated and there's a service that does an API call and it comes back and the account's generated once validated from the secretary to Grandview and us.
I see.
Okay, another question in that topic. My master degree was basically 1 week ago. So
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brothers. Can I apply to this page already, or I need to wait a little bit, or how it's gonna work?
Yeah, you'll need to wait, unfortunately. And I honestly don't know when the next time I'm gonna get a chance to update the directory is. But I will make sure that we've got everybody's information who's interested on that, and make sure they get updated accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, I know some guys are just like gung ho about this, and I know other guys are like, I don't know about it. But I mean, in my 15 years of running the Facebook group, I've had, literally at least 1,000, if not thousands of guys like, ask or beg for something like this.
Well, every time we start talking about a sensitive topic, someone always says we shouldn't talk about this. This isn't a tile forum. Well, now we have it, so they have to find something else to complain about.
Yeah,
that takes that argument out.
Like, I don't think you're ever going to make everybody happy.
No.
And like, somebody's always got something to complain about, and I don't know. Those of us who can do just need to start doing and continue moving. Like, we're wasting our lives away listening to naysayers say we can't build an organization.
Yeah. Stop asking for permission, ask for forgiveness. Yep. Just do it. I agree.
I don't even care about forgiveness.
Okay, Dennis.
What a rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel scum.
Well, you see my call sign there.
So are you giving Austin 12 pins away for those that have registered for the accepted?
No. I am the one with Austin 12 pins.
Who's okay, I'm sorry. I got you.
No, so I do have a plethora of limited edition Republic of Texas pins.
That's what I'm
thinking. And I will be giving those away.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Republic of Texas pins. My mistake.
Yeah, so if you go to Grand Lodge, I've had multiple guys ask me, they're like, hey, I can't make it to Grand Lodge. Can I buy one of those pins off you? And I'm like, or how do I get one? I'm like, you make it to Grand Lodge. You can figure it out. Like, I've had two kids in 15 years. I think I've never missed Grand Lodge. So unless your kid was born this week or very close to that's insensitive. I'm taking it a bit too far, but it's like things are important. Make time for what's important.
Yeah.
Right. We all have our problems, right?
Yeah.
But I love
if you want a free pin, come to Grand Lodge, show me your accepted profile, and would love to hear your feedback on your experience, like using it. Like, are there any use cases that I'm not envisioning that you think would be handy that I could like maybe build into it to help you or your lodge out in the future? I'm open to feedback here as long as it's constructive, right? So, anybody who tries to like negate my efforts over the past 12 years, I apologize, but I'm probably not going to take you too seriously.
Well, I'm very excited to see this continue to grow and develop. I think this is fantastic, and it's something that we've needed for quite a while.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really do hope it can become like, that communication and planning platform. Because I mean, my organization has things like this, right? We've got document management systems that are integrated into employee directories that have their own like groups for different focus areas that like employees specialize in. And, we've obviously got Outlook and a calendar. I mean, this just brings a lot of like basics largely 20 years ago, if not 30 years ago, into like the fraternity as a viable free option. It's just got a social aspect to it. It provides a little bit of, modern social networking polish to it than what you might get in some other platforms.
Well, I was already thinking about, I'm building a website for the MWSA down here, and I love it that I'm going to be able to link it to the accepted and or put the link in my website for the accepted, and they can go in there for group discussion or to read the forums on certain topics and stuff like that. And I think it's going to be a great asset to us, and in that way it'll stay tiled, so nobody will have to complain about the secrets getting out there that really aren't secrets anyways. But you've always got those brothers that complain about that kind of thing. So I think this is an excellent product, and I'm going to tell everybody first thing when I'm teaching that website class to sign up at the same time, because it's it's necessary to go through the class with me.
That's also there's a couple things that I want to talk about that are near term. There's actually three things near term that I want to talk about, and then I'll relinquish screen sharing.
Mm-hmm.
One you guys asked about earlier. I do plan, while I'm not planning on letting like individual members just create groups for whatever. I do plan to start issuing specialized groups. So for you guys and maybe a few others, issuing groups for like Masonic improvement, so you can kind of have your own, documents and like stored media and panel discussions and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two is, if you see on some of these groups, there's like the Zoom option.
Mm-hmm.
This is not ready yet, but in the future there will likely be an ability for a group to integrate the API for their personal professional Zoom account into this, and then host meetings through these groups.
That would be
so basically,
cool.
you have to log in to the accepted, go to that group, and then interact in the Zoom call through the group. So, it's not bulletproof to make sure it's tiled, but it's one step closer to making sure we're having secure communication, as opposed to like just other people around and whatever else on looking at YouTube videos and whatnot. So those two things. I think there was a third thing I wanted to bring up, but I completely forgot what it was. So I'll just stop talking.
Well, I'm excited for that Zoom function. Is there going to be a way to stream through the website at some point?
I mean, it's definitely a backlog item I'd love to explore, but it's lower on that priority list as far as how we would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming is it's very costly to be able to run servers to do that.
I'll see.
And so like the things that you're using with YouTube or Twitch or anything else, like you're using their servers, right? And I don't own this server. I'm not self-hosting it, but it's also not like dumping data into like a third party that's specifically media for long-term, like that's accessible to other audiences like YouTube and like Twitch and things like that. So, yeah, I would say that's probably not anywhere close to like the near term, unless we were using like another streaming platform and putting messaging like, hey, this isn't really, it's just like kind of like it's bringing in another service into the accepted rather than that, which is similar how Zoom is, but with inside this integration of Zoom, I've got the ability to limit it to where you have to be on the accepted to do the call.
I got you.
Now you could use Zoom streaming function within that, but it's going to be limited to whatever your accounts like basis are for that.
Understood. Okay.
To be honest, I would like to say thank you because this is a great idea. I've been out of Facebook, I would say like for 2 or 3 years now, and I was thinking about open a new account. I was struggling because I don't want to deal with all that Facebook people living in a negative way, talking, and reading all that you have to go in through Facebook. But at the same time, I see that every time I'm gonna use Masonic Improvement as an example, I see that they post inner circle, we're gonna have a meeting on Facebook or whatever, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot make it. Only the ones that you guys post on YouTube, I'm able to join.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have another option. I don't need to open a Facebook account in order to be in contact with other members. So thank you. This is a great tool.
Yeah, thanks for the accolades and thanks for the recognition. I think that's also an important thing to call out here too, is like you're not the only person who's tired of Facebook. There's a lot of guys who use it. There's a lot of guys who like it. I like it. But Facebook, different applications like promote different cultures, either directly or indirectly. And Facebook is, a fairly toxic culture. Like a lot of people use it as a political, like, channel. They consume political media through it. They output political perspectives. And so everything they're doing on that channel for those people, not everybody's that way, but for a lot of them, and myself included to some extent, it affects the media that they're consuming and also promoting and also creating on that platform, right? And we see it spill over to the Freemasons group all too often. Now, the Texas Freemasons group has a pretty staunch policy. We don't delete anything unless it's just completely off Masonic topic, is exposing like the work, or that's really it. Those two things. Anything else, if people are like, oh yeah, that's Masonic offense or whatever, if it's not exposing the work, we leave it up so you can capture it as evidence and try somebody for charges if it's that serious. If it's not that serious, keep scrolling. But the point is like there's a culture that guys act a certain way on Facebook because they're on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you act on Facebook. That's how they act on Facebook. And I'm guilty of that to some extent again myself.
Hey, Facebook makes investigations a lot easier in some cases because of that reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that door swings both ways, Justin. But yeah. But I'm hoping that having a platform for Freemasons will breed a different culture of like digital interaction, right? I'm hoping that maybe it's just we're not exposing our differences as much on this platform because we're not seeing all of our political stuff and all of our family stuff and all of our other stuff. Maybe since we're just talking about Freemasonry, we can act a little bit more like Freemasons on this platform.
Yeah.
That's a hope I have at least. So
I think that's realistic. Like you said, it's a totally different culture. You get away from that Facebook culture.
Yep.
Very cool. Does anyone have any more questions or anything? No? Kyle, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think that's a pretty good overview. I'm going to relinquish the reins. But I do want to thank you and Dennis for inviting me on, and thanks for everybody who could join the live stream tonight to check it out. I appreciate the questions. Thanks for the encouragement. It's been kind of a beating to get here, and I'm sure the beating's not over, but it's a fun process regardless. And I do it because I want to see you guys and the organization able to do bigger and better things. Mm-hmm. So,
well, we appreciate everything you do. Not just the accepted, because Texas Freemasons has it's been pretty critical to Texas Freemasonry as a whole, to having that group. At least in my opinion.
Thank you.
I know Masonic Improvement wouldn't be where it's at without your group, without being able to post to it. So it's definitely been very helpful. Dennis, you don't have anything?
Do what?
You don't have anything?
Oh, sure I do. Who are you talking to?
Well, you just
Who are you, man?
Your mouth. You weren't talking, so I just make sure everything was okay. Those quiet space.
I truly love the idea that we have this option. I am very, very active on Texas Freemasons, and I think everybody knows that, especially here lately for specific reasons. But I think that through Texas Freemasons on Facebook, we have a lot of people in there that really should not be in there, and we have and I'm not saying just any brother or what have you, but we have a lot of people with joint accounts with their wives and things like that, and it's just not good for for them to have those type of accounts on a social media platform that we're utilizing for our own use as Freemasons. So I think that this fills an extremely valuable and a secure gap, a gap with security, and I'm extremely excited about it. I know that I've talked to many people about it, and hopefully they've responded by jumping on the. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you, Kyle, for all you do. In fact, Thursday night we're going to have a cash bar in our dining room for to celebrate your resolution number 9. So thank you for all you do for Freemasonry.
Kyle,
Yeah, glad to do it. It's not my resolution.
I know it's Gary's, but he's coming too. So we're excited. Well, it's all of y'all's, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who, I mean, not just this time around, but this is a multi-year like strategic effort. It's not going away. There's a lot of supporters of this and who have helped form it from before 3 years ago that can't necessarily put their name on paper in front of that thing, and for political reasons. And yeah, I mean it's a movement at this point, but I don't want to be the one taking credit for it. Like I'm willing to put my name on it because I might not quite be the lightning rod of the state that anymore, but at what time I was, and I'm happy to take a couple hits here and there, and this is just something that needs to happen. We need to treat like grown men in this state.
Right. Well, the thought behind thanking you is because I've seen you many years, countless years up there at the podium, pleading your case to deaf ears, and this year we're not going to have deaf ears. We're going to have people who are really interested in what you had to say, and along with a lot of other people. And I think that's it's a long time coming, and I'm glad to see that this year will be a different response for you than in the past. I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. I really am.
God willing.
Kyle, there's a question about the events page on the accepted. Is there a way to? I didn't see it, so I can't answer it. Is there a way to RSVP or anything like that for the events? Like if someone creates like an EA degree, can you say I'm going to that or anything like that?
Yeah, so you can create, when you're creating an event, you can create like bookings and like create like ticket allocations for it. I think you can zero out the dollar cost of that in the future, not near future, but in some future, I foresee that we'll actually get a payment gateway integrated, and that may be on a group by group level where each group's payment gateway is directly taking payments through the app. Where I'm not really involved in anything other than taking the integration point between your account and the credit card that Square or whoever else we integrate with is using.
Understood.
That's something that could happen. But there are RSVP functionalities today, but I think it's dependent on how you set that event up. And frankly, there's a ton of options in those event creation listings. I have not tried every use case of those, so would love if you guys experiment with that and let me know what you find, and if you got any challenges or trouble. Feel free to connect with me on the app and message me directly with any pain points or trouble you've got. I've got a fairly full schedule with work and with 2 little kids and Lodge and Grand Lodge and everything else, but I'll try to get to it as quick as I can. I generally jump on at least a few times a week and try to answer people, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Appreciate that. Any more questions? Anything in chat or anything y'all got? I don't see anything.
Well, since I don't have Facebook yet, and I don't have the acceptance page yet, there's any Instagram account that I can contact you in case I have a question.
We can get you that information. I'm not going to put it on wherever this video is going to
Right.
end. Yeah, we'll get you the information.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure that we're being respectful of everybody's time. It's past 11, and I know most of us have work tomorrow. So, Kyle, do you have any final thoughts? Or I know Dennis likes to go last, but does anyone have anything they want to add before we wrap up?
I think I've probably said my piece tonight. I just thank you guys for your time. I look forward to the feedback on once you've gotten on. Anything you can provide is a value to me to be able to provide more value to the fraternity. So just let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Well, I'll just add that the acceptance is the direction that we need to go as a fraternity. Facebook's not going anywhere, and I think everybody needs to be present on Facebook. I think your lodge needs to be present on Facebook. That doesn't need to change, but we need to shift a lot of our presence over to the accepted, at least those of us that can here in Texas, because it's not Facebook, honestly. Like Kyle said, me personally, I don't like Facebook either. I don't like Facebook, but it's pretty much invaluable. If you want to have a presence in front of people, you have to be on Facebook. But the accepted has a lot of benefits, and like Dennis pointed out, Facebook has the final say on everything you do. And of course, this is I don't know how the ownership of the website looks like that we've been talking about, but someone has the final say on everything there too. But it's for Masons by Masons, and we've all have been on Texas Freemasons that have Facebook, so we know how that's moderated. I would expect something very similar, and so that's where we need to go. That's what we need to do, and that way we can create our own little databases. We can create our own little Masonic connections and share our events in that way without having to worry about any interruptions or kinks or anything like that. So I appreciate, and I said this before, but I really appreciate you putting it together, Kyle, and whoever you enlisted to help you with that. If anybody, I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing where this takes Texas Freemasonry, because I've seen where Texas Freemasons has. And so I think this is like Texas Freemasons 2.0. I think this is the new generation that needs to go towards. Dennis?
Yeah, I think that the accepted is needed. It's long past due, and I think it's very possible that we could have leadership that will appreciate these types of efforts and recognize the value in data. One of the biggest travesties in our systems now is that we're not collecting all the data that we could on our membership, so that we have a better understanding of what our membership is really interested in. With a platform like this, you could actually pull up a spreadsheet that says, this is the percentage of fish fries that people love, in Texas. Our jurisdiction likes fish fries, or our jurisdiction likes degrees. We're doing a lot of degrees. We're doing a lot of fish fries. We're doing a lot of raffles, whatever. I mean, we haven't been collecting.
You have to use the R word. Don't use the R word.
Right, exactly. So the reality is that if the more data we have, the more real we can be with how we need to approach our lodges. And once we see what people are putting out there for other brothers to attend and to do and things like that, and not in a big brother way, but just to figure out what the interests of our grand jurisdiction is. And that could actually be it could be micro or macro, because you can really hone in on the lodges themselves and districts and You could even go to regions. I mean, it's really endless if you have somebody interested in running those reports.
Mhm.
And right now, that's not really the interest of Grand Lodge. The interest of Grand Lodge is membership reports and stuff like that. They don't realize how this other stuff applies to membership. So now you'll have a platform in the future to where you can see how many fish fries are going on, and then how well the membership is doing in that area to see if that's really effective, or this area does a shit ton of scholarships, and how effective is that for the increase of membership. And it's not to say that membership should be our driving thought, but it definitely should be a thought. And we've gone to
Dennis, I don't want to cut you off here, but I do have something to add on that from the perspective of Grand Lodge. It's telling.
Oh, of course.
It's telling when we've had a Grand Lodge that for 20 years has done nothing but talk about the need for membership, and then
Yes.
continually have a resolution structure to create laws that has formal committee process reviews. Guess how many times the laws reference membership committee to review resolutions for the good of membership? And guess how many resolutions have been passed to the membership committee to see if we should be doing it for membership?
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah.
In my
Exactly.
experience over the 3 to 4 years I've been involved with that committee, like people don't even know how to use it. Like, but when we've got the data, we can see like, oh yeah, well, and we're like, I pulled in outside like enterprise data to see how the state's trending and societal projections and things like that. I was like, we can't keep treating men this way. We can't.
Mhm.
We can't have some of these policies in place. They're running guys off. And some of
Yes.
the resolutions just need to be the membership committee going up there and be like, you want to lose membership, vote yes on this.
I just think over
Right.
the last 20, 30, 40 years, the accessibility of data has increased dramatically. Not that it wasn't there beforehand, but the amount of work it takes to go and pull data has been reduced massively. And
Well-
we talk about one second. I mean, we talk about numbers, and a lot of people say, well, that's people, and that's true. But like even in education, we're looking at data. Like that we inform our practice by looking at the data and see what's working and what isn't. It's just responsible. If we have access to it, why wouldn't we do that? And I think as a statewide organization, if you want to know what's working and what isn't, you need to find a way to create that data and access it.
Well, this is a conversation for another day, really. But the reality is, and not to be too harsh on everyone, but sorry but not sorry. It requires a room of trustees that understand what the data will bring them. It requires a room of trustees that understands how good data creates successful businesses. And we haven't had that. We've had some smart guys, but I don't think we've had the ones that really understand the data. Now we're getting to a point to where we have people that are capable of discerning that information or accepting it and making sure that we have the right people in place to do it. I think we're on the right path. We still have a long ways to go, don't get me wrong, but I think we're on the right path. We've come a long way just by having Grandview. Okay, so I know it's really pathetic that here we are in 2024 and Grandview is our big thing, our big tech, but we're getting there. And now we're getting into an era to where the next generation of leaders will understand that tech and will understand the data and will understand how to use that data to make decisions that are going to be best in practice for the craft. And I truly believe that. I think that the accepted is a good next level option to assist with that, because we don't have anything like that. And what you're going to find on forums and your groups and things like that is going to be very telling on the decisions we need to make going forward. And that's my closing statement. And brothers, be careful heading to Waco. Most of you are going that way. I will be going that way in the morning and meeting a bunch of brothers there and having a good time. And I know Kyle will be there, and Justin will be there, and most of the people who are still listening to us this late at night, they wouldn't be if they were going to work. They're going to Grand Lodge instead. So we got to put in the real work this weekend.
Yeah. I'm actually going to work in the morning, but I will see you guys on Thursday.
I'm working in the morning too. Kyle, if someone had
a scab.
If someone had a question about the
are...
accepted, how would you prefer they reach out to you?
Or would you probably. I mean, the Facebook group. I'm admin of Texas Freemasons. That'd be the easiest way. If we can figure out a way to like circulate my email, offline of this call, later. But yeah, that'd be a secondary option. But the Facebook direct message is fine.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, if you're a Grand Secretary or Grand Lodge representative of a lodge that we recognize in with Texas, then go ahead and call us or reach out to us, and we'll definitely get you in touch with Kyle and the team.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for hopping on and staying on this late. Kyle, appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of y'all Thursday.
Look forward to it.
Hi, everybody. Dennis, keep it between the points.
There you go.
You got it, brother. You got it, brother. Congratulations.